This is a continuation of our homework set 43. Question 5, this is an investment problem, and here's what we're told, that Mr. Jones has $23,000 to invest. And he's going to put part of it in at 9% and the rest in at 13%. All right, so part at 9, part at 13. And then we're told he earns a whole total of $2,550 of interest in 1 year. And then we want to know how much did he invest in each rate. So why don't we do this? Why don't we let X equal the amount, how about AMT, the amount at 9%, and Y equal the amount at 13%. Now I know this, X plus Y is equal to 23,000. Do you see that? This is the amount you put in at 9, this is the amount you put in at 13, and the total amount we have invested is 23,000. All right, so that's one equation. Now I need another one. Now, here's where the other one's going to come from. How much money do you make off the amount at 9%? Well, that's the amount that we invested at 9%, so that's going to be 0.09x plus, now at 13%, that's going to be 13% times the amount invested at Y, and that's all equal to what? Now this is a sum, so that's a total, and that is at 2550. Let's do this. I don't particularly like working with decimals, so I'm going to multiply by 100. So that's just move this decimal point over 2, this over 2, and this one over 2. So here's my new system. X plus Y equals 23,000, and 9x plus 13y, that's equal to 2550, but add on 2 zeros there. Now, we can solve this by substitution. Let's try x this time. So what do you get for x? Right from this one, what is x? Well, x is 23,000 minus y, right? If you solve that for x, just subtract y. Now take that value for x, that expression for x, and put that right in here. So we're going to get 9x, but x is 23,000 minus y, all right, and then plus 13y, that's equal to 2550, and then 2 more zeros. So let's multiply through here. So 9 times 23,000, on my calculator I get 207 and 3 zeros, minus 9y plus 13y, that's all equal to 255 and 3 zeros. All right, now right in here, this is going to be 207 and 3 zeros. 13y minus 9y is plus 4y, and that's equal to 255, 3 zeros. Now, let's subtract. So I did that, and I'm getting 4y is equal to 48,000. Okay, let's divide, right? We'll divide. So y is equal to 12000. All right, so what is y? Now it's a word problem, so you have to go back and see what y is. So back here at the top, way over here, y is the amount at 13%. Now, how much is at 9%? Well, I know this, that x plus y is equal to 23,000. So I know this, x plus y equals 23,000. Now I know y, right? Y is 12,000. So x plus 12,000 equals 23,000. Let's subtract. So x is equal to, what are we going to get here? 1, 1, and 3 zeros. All right, so how much is invested at each rate? So let's say this. What was x? What was x? Follow it all the way back up here. What is it? X is the amount at 9%. So let's say this. At 9%, we invested $11,000. Or Mr. Jones did. At 13%, that was, okay, 13% was Y, right? 13% was Y, and that was over here. That's $12,000. Let me write it so I can actually read it. $12,000. And sure enough, I add them together, I get $23,000. So that's going to be my answer. Question 6 tells us that Susan invests 3 times as much money at 10% as she does at 8%. If her total interest after 1 year is this amount, that's the total, how much does she invest at each rate? All right, so I'm going to have to introduce. I got 2 rates, so 2 variables. Now, here's what I know, that Susan invests 3 times as much at 10% as she does at 8%. So it looks to me like 10% investment is given in terms of the 8%. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to let X equal the amount at 8%. Then what do I know about Y? Y is equal to what? All right, well, this is going to be the amount at 10%. Now, I know something about Y. Y is the amount at 10%, what it says. The amount at 10% is 3 times as much as 8%. So Y is 3 times X. Does that make sense? The amount at 10% is 3 times as much, at 3 times that at 8%. Susan invests 3 times as much money at 10% as she does at 8%. Okay, that's one equation. We've got 2 variables, so I need another equation. Now, here's where it's going to come from. She's got money invested at 8%, and she makes some interest off of that, and some at 10%. She makes interest off of that. Now, she has X number of dollars at 8%. All right, so how much does she get off the 8%? It's 8% of that money invested plus 10% of the money invested of Y, that's the money invested at 10%, and the total interest, right? This is the interest she makes off the 8%, the interest off the 10%, and altogether it's $22.80. And there is our system. Now, first up, I'm going to eliminate these decimals. So my new system is this. Y equals 3x. Now, multiply by 100. Just means move the decimal point over 2 places to the right. So we'll get 8x plus 10y equals 2280, but 2 zeros, right? Everything has to move over 2 places. There's our system. All right, so you know y. Y is 3x, so put that 3x right here. So I'll do it up here. So we'll get 8x plus 10 times 3x. That's equal to 228 and 3 zeros. All right, so 8x plus 30x equals 228 zeros. So how about 38x equals 228 and 3 zeros. Now, divide by that 38. So x is equal to 228 3 zeros divided by 38. And I got x being 6,000. Now, x is 6,000. So, what do you know about y? Well, here's y. Y is right over here. All right? So put that 6,000 into that. So y is equal to 3x, which is equal to 3 times 6,000. So y is equal to 18,000. Now, it says find the amount at each rate. All right, so we have 2 rates. How much money was invested at 8% and how much at 10%? Well, 8% was what? That was x. And here is our x, that's 6,000. And at 10%, that is the 18,000. Question 7, another investment problem. Here's what we know. This guy invests $1,800 in 3 accounts that pay 4%, 6%, and 8% annual interest. All right, so if I take the amount here, the amount here, and the amount here and add them up, I'm going to get $1,800. That's how much was invested. Now, he has 2 times as much invested at 8% than he does at 4%. All right, so a bunch of information here. Don't get hung up on this just yet. If his total interest is 116, find the amount invested at each rate. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce variables. Let x equal the amount at, say, 4%. Y, this will be the amount at 6%. And z, that will be the amount at 8%. Now I know this. If I add those together, those 3 amounts together, x plus y plus z, this is equal to 1,800, right? That's our total investment. This is the amount we put in at 4, the amount we put in at 6, the amount we put in at 8, and altogether that amount is 1,800. Right, now I know this. He has 2 times as much invested at 8% than he does at 4%. Right, now this is the 8%. This is twice what he has at 4. So I know this, that z is equal to 2x. Does it make sense? The amount invested at 8, equals twice the amount at 4. Now, I seem to be missing a variable here. Can you get y anywhere? Well, we need another equation, right? I got 3 variables. I've got only 2 equations, but I do know this, right? Here's what we know. The total interest for the year is 116. Now, how much do you make off each account? You get 4% of this amount. Right? You put in this amount, you get 4% of it. So here's the other equation. 0.04x plus, and then 6% y plus 8% of z, and that's equal to 116. Let's get some practice with technology. Let's go to Wolfram Alpha, right? So go to Wolfram Alpha. So remember where that is. It is www.wolframalpha.com. All right, when you get there, this is what you're going to see. Now, enter what you want to calculate. This is what we want to calculate. So what you're going to enter here is solve, and type the equations. X plus y plus z equals 1,800, comma, z equals 2x, comma, and then 0.04x plus 0.06y plus 0.08z equals 116. And then press enter or hit that equal sign. So I did that, and here's what I got. I typed in what I think were my 3 equations, but I just check it down here. This is the interpretation. This is what Wolfram Alpha thinks you put in. Solve. All right, just check all your equations. They look okay. And then down at the bottom, Wolfram Alpha is going to give you the result of the computation. So it solves. Wolfram Alpha will solve this system of 3 equations and 3 variables for us. So let's just write our solution. Now here's the question. How much is invested at each rate? All right, so we have 4%, 6%, and 8%. How much at each one of these rates? Well, X is 400, so $400. Oh, how interesting this is. $600, and at 8% it's $800. There is our answer to this question. And that ends this part of homework set 43.